Hello and welcome to Do My Trains, and welcome to another layout design video where I showcase the process and steps to design a layout that not only looks good but also operates well. Hopefully this will inspire you or help you to make better layout designs yourself. Today's layout design is a very special one as we're going to be looking at my next layout. Here is the design in all its glory, but to fully understand it, we need to look at it section by section. After that, I will also explain the roster with the various jobs that will make this layout come to life. So here we go. Let's peel back the layers and let's start with the yard. Now in the middle of the layout, you see this track schematic that will slowly expand as we go through the layout, and it will also keep us on track. So starting from the top, what we see is 1, 2, 3, 4 classification tracks, and then we have one arrival departure track. That's track 2. The arrival departure track can also be used as a classification track if it gets busy. We have a runaround to the south of that, to the runarounds, and on that siding is the terminal as well, with the original steam facilities and later the added diesel facilities. And we have a icing track right here and a cold storage industry nearby as well. There's a repair in place at the end of one of the spurs of the classification yard, and way here in north is the caboose track. I originally had the caboose track here in the south near the engine terminal where it often is located, but it just got too congested and too busy, so I moved it up here to the north. Productively speaking, the icing track is often on this side of the yard as well, but it's not really practical to have this icing platform at the front of your layout where you have to reach over to classify, couple and uncouple all the cars in the yard. So I decided it probably would be better to put it here on the south side of the yard. Now, one of the most important features of this yard is actually the yard lead. So that is this track that goes all the way back here, because you need to be able to pull out the cars from the classification track and put them, for example, on one of the other classification tracks or on the arrival and departure track. Now, how to get cars on and off the layout, because every railroad is connected to the rest of the railroads, to the rest of the network. So for that, we have the C&NW Interchange, and you'll see it's just located here at the end of the yard and is actually staging. There are 2 staging tracks right here. So that's there. That's this whole one side of the schematic. Now let's go in the other direction. So leaving the yard, we go towards near north, and this section of track is just a single track, but it's actually quite important because it fits more than one entire train length. So as the train departs from the yard, waits to get clearance to enter near north, it can just sit here and the yard can continue its duties. Now near north is next, and this is the main switching area. So let's go through it step by step. As you see in the schematic, there's a lot of roads. So this is a very busy urban area. I drew in the track 2, the main track that goes through it. So let's just start with that. Let's first add some industries. So to the north, I added a passing siding right here to do runarounds and also to store some cars if needed. And there are various industries right here. And because this is a very congested section, you probably want to have far more passing sidings and options to maneuver around traffic and spotted and parked cars. So therefore, most of this is actually filled with the passing sidings. There's another one here, and there's another one here that goes around the bend. If we fill it in a bit more to the south, there's another siding here that has 1, 2 trailing spurs, and here's a facing spur. And now it's good to mention that all these dark red buildings are rail served industries. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right now here in the south, and 1, 2 in the north. Coming here around the bend is a coal trestle, a local coal dealer. Now the track itself will be level, and the trestle here will be sunken into the landscape a bit. I think that will make for a really nice scene. Another thing I forgot to mention is that this dotted line is track that's no longer in use. So you see it right here on the left, and you see it right here as well. Then we have another spur here in the north with a ramp to offload cars for the local car dealer in another industry. And then here, this spur, actually I connected to the other spur and thus creating a siding because my mix of facing spurs and trailing spurs was a bit off. I ideally want to have a big overweight of one type over the other. So you have to do some runarounds every now and then, but you're not running around all the time. So by connecting these two spurs into siding, this 1, 2, 3 industries will basically in effect become a trailing end siding, which is a trailing end spur, which is the default on my layout. Now we have yet another location where traffic enters the layout, and that is the CM St. Paul and P interchange. And it runs here in purple, and it goes behind the structures. It's actually a hidden staging. Now, this interchange track, and the same with the one here on the right for the CNNW, I could have put it here on the forefront and left it open, where the track just bends off layout. But that just takes up so much valuable real estate, where as you see now, I put different industries. So that's why I choose to put them on the back. Right now, you're probably thinking, how is he going to build all this? There is not one structure that's square or the same size. But you know, they don't have to be scratch built, or they don't have to be a custom design. Because ABR ModelWorks has a modular building system that easily allows you to make any structure for any size. I already made this background kit from ABR ModelWorks, and it has all kinds of angles here at the back, yet it was easy to design and easy to make into this cool looking building. Check out the description down below for a special discount code that applies to the entire ABR catalog. Moving along, let's extend this track 2 a bit further down, all the way to layout to here. You can see it in the schematic as well. And then first, we're going to add this brewery. This is the largest industry on the layout and a separate job, separate run as such. Let me just rotate the view a bit. So here we can see it a bit better. The brewery stretches all the way along the backside, and this hides the two staging tracks in the north. And all the brewery industries are on this separate passing siding. The bottling facility is the largest with the shipping department. So there's 2 tracks right here for unloading the empty bottles and kegs and loading the full bottles and kegs. Then there is the power plant track here that receives tank cars. And here for the hoppers on the right is the grain unloading facility. The majority of the traffic will be for the shipping section. So the train would come in engine first, and then it can just easily pick and spot all the cars that need to be picked and spotted. It will actually then head out caboose first again. So that's a quick one, and this runaround will serve only the hoppers right here. And we'll talk about this black piece of track later on, as it has a lot more function than just this passing siding. So back to the main section, and here we have the Interchange, which is a car float that connects to the Pennsylvania Railroad. And this is the third way for cars and traffic to arrive and to depart from my little layout. And as you see, there's quite a lot of trackage. Let's just go through them. Because if you have a car float, you actually need 3 times the amount of track to operate it as a minimum. So just imagine that this is a full float with cars. So that's the first set of track. And to swiftly load and offload the float, you want to have all the new cars for the float ready. So they will be on this second blue track right here. And then to first offload all the cars, you need to put them somewhere. So then we put them on the third piece of track. That's just track 2 right here. And then you take all the cars that have been waiting on the second track and you spot them on the float. Now there's also a team track right here, quite a large one. Because back in the day, a lot of cars that arrived by float actually just had to be offloaded as soon as possible for less than cargo loads or other transloading operations. And that was done here on the team track. So before the train departs back to the yard, all the cars that have to go to the team track will be spotted there first. So they don't have to go all the way through near north and to the yard. So as promised, let's go back to this piece of black track right here. Let me just rotate it and zoom in a bit. The black track right here actually allows for the brewery run to switch the brewery and for the float operations to continue alongside. And if you did not have this piece of black track and only the green one exists, then it's either or. You can either switch the brewery or the car float. Now that's almost it, except for one tiny piece of track that is right there. You would almost miss it. And you see it on the schematic as well. It's on the far right side. It's actually the south side of the railroad right here, the dotted line. And it's on the north side of the railroad as well, here just at the interchange. And it's actually only this 6-inch piece of track. And that connects the loop, so I can have continuous running if I wish to do so. So that is the entire layout in all its glory. So now the question, how are we going to run all this? Which runs are there, which jobs are there, and what do they do? So let's have a look. So for the various jobs, this is the roster, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of jobs, of which some, like the Near North and the hostlers, run a few times a day. Let's start with the Near North, right there. Starts here at the terminal and collects the cars from the yard, and then it heads up to Near North. And Near North, as we saw, it runs all the way from here to here, and the job switches the cars in Near North. But because Near North is so big, and we have several jobs running at the same time, I chose to divide it in 2 sections. The west side, that's everything on this side of track 2, and the east side, that's all the other ones on the other side of track 2. So your job switches all these trains here in this area, and then heads back down, spots the cars on the relevant track, and done. Now for the brewery run, the second one right here is the same story. The engine departs from the terminal, collects the right cars from the yard, and heads all the way up through Near North, and then switches the brewery right there. And it only does the brewery, and then it heads back down Near North to the yard right here. Do note that this train does not turn around as such. So it will depart with an engine first and a caboose at the end, and on its way back it will be the same but in the other direction. So the caboose will actually be at the front of the train and the engine will be at the back. Now up next is the Pensley Hostler, that's right there. And it's a hostler. It's not a true hostler in a sense that it moves around engines. I just like to call it a hostler because it just hostels cars around, and hostels cars around here from the yard, and then again all the way to Near North, through Near North to the car float right here. And it does spot a few cars here at the team track where needed, and all the other cars are just going to go all the way back. It's just going to hustle, pick them all the way back here, and spot them at the yard. Now, do note this run does have a few light runs, means it only has an engine and a caboose, and that's it. Then a little intermezzo, there is a yard master that looks after the entire yard. That's about from here to here. And if on busy days, there will be a separate yard master, so he will build and terminate all the various trains, at least the cars, and then the other crews will pick up the engines, pick up the cars, and then head up to the job. But on empty days, the individual runs will all one by one collect their engine, classify and collect the cars, put them in the right order, and then head up the track. That's also how I would do it if I'll be operating by myself. So then there's the CM St. Paul and P interchange. This is a bit of a tricky one, and the exact operations might change as I shake down the layout a bit. So what's going to happen, it's only going to be switched midday. So at the beginning of the morning, cars are going to be spotted here on these tracks in various places that have to go to this interchange. And then midday, the engine would depart with caboose only. We're running light again. We'll go up. And then first we would get all the cars out of this interchange track and making space to spot these on the interchange track right there. At the same time, we're going to spot all the cars at these various industries where applicable, and all the other ones and the cars that you collect from that run will go back to the yard right here. So this is quite a big and complex job, but will be very, very fun. If it's too complex, if I need to chop this up a bit, last but not least is the C&W Hostler. This is also a bit of a fun one. So you probably already know the drill. You depart from the terminal, and then you go in this direction, and you collect the cars that are here on the interchange track. This is quite a short run, so if it's busy, then that's great. But if it's not that busy, actually decide to bypass the entire yard. Just go through here, go through Near North, past brewery, all this, and then make use of this special little track right here, and then enter the yard on the second pass. This will give it a nice run, and it's nice to see a long train, wiggle through the downtown area. And that's an option right there. Now there's a lot more information to unpack here, everything from spots for different cars, to the bench work that we're working on, to the storage that's going to be underneath the layout, the different sight lines and building heights, to who is operating, where are they, to dimensions, which dimensions did I use for the streets and the sidewalks, and distance between tracks, and a lot of more information to unpack. And you can get your hands on all that information today, as I'm not going to discuss it too much, but if you look at my Patreon page, you can, as of right now, download the AnyRail file and all these images I showed you. You can study them. Thank you all for watching. That's it for today. Bye bye.